We are back. Welcome to the Smart to Noise Ratio Pro Audio Podcast. This is episode number 49, I believe, if anyone's counting.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. We did have something we were going to try and roll out for episode 50, but it looks like we might not get there. Things got busy.
Brandon's out of town for the next month,
Yeah.
so...
We're working on a new title sequence, but that'll have to come later. Mm-hmm. Any rate, I'm your humble host, John Dayton. Directly next to me on the back couch, your humble co-host, Anthony Kosobucki.
Hey there.
So here we are, at a bit of a loss for show topics, but it's all right. We've got some ideas. My first little thing, I want to plug a couple note-taking options. As Anthony knows well, I need to be slathered in notebooks for everything to be right with the world.
There's at least half a tree in John that came out wrong.
Yeah, well, yeah, that did come out. Might have to go back and edit that out.
He carries a lot of paper around with him.
I do.
Well.
I have one little tiny moleskin notebook that just fits in the cell phone pocket of my cargo shorts, and that's for like day-to-day stuff, like writing down patch changes and phone numbers and advancing immediate gigs on it. And then I also have my favorite little notebook is this company called Field Notes makes them. Look those up. They're super cool. They're a tiny bit spendy, but not any more spendy than like Moleskine or any of these other classy things. But it's a real plain Jane. It's like a farmer's notebook. That's kind of the ethic of it. So, you get like 48 pages. It almost looks like a shopping bag cover, but it's a little heavier duty than that. And graph paper, line paper, plain paper inside, whatever. I like the graph paper. And at any rate, their motto is sort of, I'm not writing it down. I'm not going to be able to quote it now. I got to see if it's like printed in the back cover anywhere. Oh, heck. Well, never mind. It's like I'm writing it down to remember it later or something like that. I don't know. At any rate, hit up the website. They got a lot of cool stuff. They make their own pencils. Their pencils are awesome. Round cedar pencils, natural finish. I keep 3 of them on my desk just to smell when I'm having a bad day. So anyway, that's my that's where like all my wireless coordination for my job goes. Long term like renovation and update projects, information on that goes in there. Stuff that's going to take several weeks to complete. And one of those will last me just about a year. I'll keep that in my pocket, and about every June, I'm actually due for a new one. And this one's, the spine is now gaff tape, and it's looking pretty dog-eared. And I'll go through and set up a new one, like look and see if there's anything in it that
Save your favorite bookmarks in it.
Yeah.
Transfer those over.
Hit Control F and find all the important stuff. Which, it's weird because I also have an iPhone and an iPod on my belt at all times. And I don't know, I have never really gotten the hang of note taking on a phone. It's just
it doesn't feel as good.
There are so many things, especially in this line of work. You need a diagram, and that's a hassle. Like trying to draw circuit diagrams or layouts with your fingertip. It's just no good.
I don't know. I've got, like John's got notebooks. I've got legal pads scattered all over my office. I've probably got.
Oh, I still live on legal pads.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like, I think I've got 2 or 3 in my backpack, and then one on my desk, one on the interface rack, and then one on the workbench, and then a couple more hidden underneath the couch. And
when I used to be the electrician at a hospital, and that was my thing. I had a legal pad, and everything I did for a given day had to fit on one sheet. And that was, I figured, the only way I was going to keep track of anything. Yeah. So, I'd start a to-do list in one corner, stuff I needed to finish up from the previous day, write down, put all the people on my call list in one corner. And then any meetings I went to, whatever notes I took would go on there. Sketches, measurements, orders, POs, all of that stuff went on one sheet. And then at the end of the day, I'd slap it in the copier, email myself a PDF, and I kept terrific records that way. Of course, nowadays you can do that with your cell phone. Just slap it down, and there's a lot of neat little apps. I don't know if
Genius Scan is the one that I use. It's free. Like there's a paid version, but I haven't.
Yeah, I think I might have spent $2.99 to get an app that does a pretty good job of like getting rid of the shadows. Just makes you a nice black and white document, and then it'll automatically email it to you as a PDF with the time and date. Or you could just snap a picture of it, email yourself the JPEG, because I actually don't refer to them that much. It's only if I really get stuck. Be like, oh yeah, I only have that number in one spot. I wrote it down last week, and then I threw it out.
Right.
So anyway, the that notebook that I carried is Field Notes brand. Look the fieldnotesbrand.com. Look those guys up. They make cool stuff. The other thing that I just stumbled on, I was browsing through, it was either Gizmodo or Lifehacker. And they were like all the best stuff, best little pocket tools. So they had all these little like Swiss Army credit cards that, they have all these tools in them.
Yeah.
And this one thing was this cool little planner. So You get 8 panels on it, and you get to select what goes on them. So, like yearly calendars, weekly or monthly calendars, lines, graph, to-do lists, expense accounts, all little forms to help you keep stuff organized. And then you print it out, and it gets pretty close to the edge of the pages. And one of the options is actually to print. The one I printed out here showed Anth actually has folding instructions on it. So you fold it up in 4s, and then you make one slit in it with a pair of scissors, and then fold. And I actually have my working one here. You guys won't get to see it unless I actually remember to take a picture of it and post it. So you actually get like a little 4-page notebook. So, and that's
pretty cool.
So mine's got this week's calendar on the front, next week's calendar on the back, and then the inside is just graph paper. And Morse code, that's one of the options. Is you can have a page with like Morse code, or
of course that's in there.
Useful
sense for
tables and stuff. But the other cool thing is like you get a couple of pockets out of it, so you could like keep your cash in there, or a couple extra business cards, or if people give you business cards, you could tuck them in there. And I figure one piece of paper could survive about a week in my pocket, so this is perfect. And if there is anything that I feel like I'm going to need to remember, I can just flatten that sucker out on the desk and take a picture of it and email it to myself, and there it is, preserved forever. So that's what I'm going to do instead of my little Moleskine day-to-day notebooks that are $9 a piece or whatever.
Jeez.
Just going to get a free piece of paper and do that. So that's enough for the organizational. Oh, I was going to tell you the website. Let me see if it's on here. Pocketmod.com. Oh, yeah. Get some. The next thing I was going to bring up is I got on another Who binge. Just couldn't get me enough of the Who this week. So sitting out in the shop late the other night, watching some of my favorite performances actually are the covers. The Who were honored by VH1. And usually when VH1 does the rock honors, like they'll do a couple ZZ Top tunes and a couple tunes from somebody else, and they'll have other bands come in, cover their songs, and then the band themselves will come out and play a couple numbers. Mm-hmm. The year they did it for the Who, it was all Who, front to back. So the Foos came out, did 3 numbers. Incubus came out and did a couple. Pearl Jam did a couple. I almost think there was somebody else.
It's probably POD.
That year, yeah, back in 2008. And then it was, and then the Who came out, played a couple numbers themselves. So I was really jamming out to the Incubus and the Pearl Jam numbers. Not huge fans of either one of those bands. But anyway, I said all that to say this. There was this particular moment, and I'm bringing this up because I was going to talk about putting reverb on bass. And I don't know, unless you're like Victor Wooten or somebody like that, it doesn't make, if you're playing lead bass on your own album, you could get away with putting a little reverb on there.
Yeah.
But it is something, if you do decide to do it, it's not done too much. I think Metallica did it a little bit at some point.
I'm sure Phil Collins did it.
Yeah, so it happens, but if you notice it, then they did it wrong, and if it's just kind of buried in there. But anyway, one of the cool moments was the song is "The Real Me" by Pearl Jam, and the third verse is actually a drum break, and the bass line continues through, and the crowd mics on this recording were just done to a T. So it already sounds like a party. I mean, you can hear the band reverberating around the room, and the crowd's going nuts. And you can hear the PA coming back in, like it sounds like it's getting into the mics on stage, but of course they're all too nice and too well done and too well taken care of for that to be the case. So it's the crowd mics, but just the drums and the bass going out into that room, that natural reverb was just such a nice moment.
I've done that a few times on actually the project that me and Brandon were working on. Last week, they did it in a living room, and they didn't want it to sound bigger than a living room, but just at the end, I think I put the bass just a touch in the acoustic reverb bus.
Yep.
Just to give it a little bit more space, because it was everything else was super ambient. It was acoustic guitars and a little living room grand piano, a drum kit that the kid was playing with mallets. I think he pulled out sticks for one song, but he played, there's no hi-hat. His hi-hat was just going with his left foot. With the snare and floor tom and cymbals were just all mallets all the time. And then sitting in the middle of this and, a 20-person little mini choir is a 5-string Music Man bass plugged in through I think it was a 210, Mark bass combo. So you had to turn down real low, and I just took a dry line. I guess the bass in the amp was just for the room, but stuck out like a sore thumb. Like, oh yeah, we all did this together, and then like the bass player couldn't show up, so we just had him track in, do a DI later. So just to to make it fit, I threw it in the acoustic bus and just gave it a little bit of space, so it kind of sounded like it was wafting around with everything else.
What kind of reverb were you using? Small room?
The
Ice Cathedral.
Actually, in Altverb, they have a setting for the catacombs in France. Put everything in that.
That's interesting to get that real living roomy vibe.
Well, they had 10 kids, so there's a chance one of them perished. I don't know. No, I used the old. It was an EMT plate.
Oh, cool!
I think it was a
I love plate
140.
reverb.
I wasn't digging it at first, and then there's an old Lexicon. I can't remember the model number, but it's like a tan box with 4 or 5 faders on it. That thing got used all over the project. If Altverb wasn't such a CPU hog, I probably would use it more, but Deverb seems to do the job pretty well until you start getting up into a higher CPU usage and it starts artifacting all over the place.
Yeah, I don't have that problem in Reaper.
Yeah, probably not.
Sorry, I just had to get that jab in. Since we're not doing weekly Jew references anymore, I had to get a Reaper dig in there. We've talked about this before with reverbs. Like if you're doing something soulful and a little bit laid back, something that's not super dense, maybe has a lot of acoustic instruments, you certainly want that real crisp, perfect, airy, spatial reverb. But when you're working on stuff that's heavier, denser, more hectic,
something sharp.
Yeah, well, plate reverb is just
sharp,
a great choice. If you want something skanky, spring reverb.
I don't know if I'd say skanky. I love spring reverb on stuff. I love spring reverb on background vocals.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of like ska music or. You know what I'm saying?
They track the vocals through the Fender Twin.
Yeah. But
that's why.
Spring can be really beautiful too. Like that last Adele record, all they used was a nice spring.
Yeah.
And it can have a really nice, delicate sound if you don't drive the bejesus out of it.
Yeah.
If you do, things also get interesting. So like if you want dirt and grit and texture, hit a spring reverb, hit it hard. If you do just need some space in there, like you can try modeling different rooms, small room, medium room, wood room, whatever, concrete. One of my favorite picks has always just been plate reverb. It doesn't even have to be a very good plate reverb. It doesn't have to be like a perfect model of some classic unit. Just something that roughly approximates it, because something about it lets it, instead of being sauce that you drizzle over the whole dish, it's like a little side, a little tasty side. It's like the avocado next to your burrito.
And instead of like, you can do it with any reverb really or delay, but what I like doing with the spring stuff is double bussing to 2 spring reverbs and setting them a little bit different, like setting a big pre-delay on maybe the left side and then setting a longer tail on the right side and having it kind of swoosh back and forth, and then that way you still get more of a reverb feel, but you're not driving the crap out of it and getting a dirty sound.
Yep. That actually reminds me of, I might have to look it up real quick. Somebody dropped a comment on, it was one of the posts this week about, let me see, was it Liam? I got it right here. Not that one. Is that one? Yeah, our buddy Liam Smith, who says he likes to, when he's mixing live, he'll do sort of a fake mid-side effect where he splits the vocal out, runs it through a really heavy-duty stereo reverb with a long pre-delay and possibly something else like a chorus or a panner to really make it kind of wild. And then he'll run that back in. So the effect is panned out hard and blend that in. And that's not like the reverb, like when you're out mixing live, like the one reverb that you have for everything.
Right.
That's like the reverb that you use just for the lead vocal. And that keeps the vocal in the middle and also makes it very wide. And I also see that Mr. Liam Smith has sent me an email regarding the Midas I have for sale. That's happy. Awesome. All right, I'm gonna save that for later. And
I tried to sell your Soundcraft today, but Jeff would have none of it.
Keep pushing.
Oh well,
it must go.
After he's like, oh no, we're gonna go all digital. I'm like, oh okay, great. Well, what do you think? He's like, Presonus. Like, can I try to talk you out of that? And I sat down and sat there for another 45 minutes. It's like, no, I think we're gonna go with Presonus. Like,
who's that?
JFK Electronics. Yeah. He didn't remember you by name. He just remembered, oh yeah, that guy that keeps coming in and buying S90 keys.
Yeah. I've just about cleaned that guy out of S90 keys. I have made that box of keys a wonderful investment for him. Mm-hmm. Cash money. I don't know what else I was going to bring
That's
up.
how he redid his basement.
Reverb reminded me of this. We just reconfigured our stage at work at my church. We've had a choir on stage for quite a while. They're usually on for, I don't know, 3-4 months at a stretch, and then they get some time off. So when we do that, we put the choir way over on stage left, and we shove the drums way over on stage right to kind of keep them happy. And the drums wind up sort of under a video cube with a curtain on one side and a shield in front, and it's a little bit of a mess. Although they don't react bad. Like, it's sort of luck of the draw. The height of the riser that they're on and the height of the ceiling that they're under, it's not fantastic, but it's not bad either.
Not as bad as you'd expect.
Right. And some studios will actually do this trick. I was thinking about this today. They'll actually have, it's called a cloud. Where it's this, wood and or foam and cloth construct that they hang over the drums, and it's on a winch, so you can change the height of it. Mm-hmm. That'll really do a lot to change how resonant toms and cymbals are. It's really interesting, because I had just switched from Evans G2 heads on my toms to some
EC2s.
That was what I had?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Oh, okay. And I switched to the G2 hydraulic heads. And we've talked about this before. Like, hydraulic heads don't sound good to your ear, but they usually sound pretty good once you mic them up. There's just something nice about them. Sound great through a system. And these didn't. I was sort of trying to figure out what it was.
I'm still pretty sure that it's the fact that your bottom heads are 18 months old.
It could be that, except pulling it out from under that and putting the drums back to center, I'm a lot happier with them now. Like, I feel like they have a little way they could go, but something about that ceiling was just chilling out the resonance a little too much.
Oh, yeah, because hydraulics have a ton of resonance in them.
Yeah.
It sounds like punching your fridge door.
And now on the older heads, they did resonate a little more, and the ceiling would tone them down to a reasonable level. The hydraulic heads, like Anth said, don't resonate much, so the fact that they were getting damped a little bit was pretty much sucking all the joy out of life.
That's why you should have gotten the blue ones. They make like
I was going to get like hot pink, like Barbie pink.
We'll just paint them. That won't change anything.
Neon. Yeah, get the Krylon out. I wonder.
Rust-Oleum, just in case.
So anyway, did that. Moved my drums. They sound different. They sound better. I like it. Everybody's happy.
That's good.
Yeah, and unless my band gets kind of strung out when they're pushed all across the stage. It's nice to have the drums back in the middle, like in proper rock fashion. Mm-hmm. Bass player on one side, guitar player on the other. Everybody else sort of clustered in tight.
That's the only way you can do stick tricks.
There was fingerless glove wearing. There was stick twirling. There may have been a mesh shirt involved.
I'm pretty sure the 1 week that I was there and Brandon played, he twirled on one hit at least.
Right before he did that 64th note fill that we pay him extra for. It's funny when he's there, like he walks down the hall and he's like, "Hey, killer fill, dude, man, that was an awesome fill."
and like the day after coming, he's like, "Yeah, so I did that same 64th note fill again. They want me back more."
I think they just want me for my fills, he said. And we kind of do.
That's what she said.
Yeah. Is that why he brings his wife with him to gigs? So she can, like, stake that territory, like, so we don't move in on him?
Yeah. That or she'd be home drinking, probably. And then he'd have to go and pick her up.
Yeah, instead of at work getting catchy church music stuck in her head.
Yeah. I had to apologize about that.
Yeah. It sure am catchy.
Yep.
All right, well, what else? Anth and I Anth got a call, and I'm going to post pictures of this. He got a call from a church over in my hometown. Wanted them to come in, take a look at their system. They had some money to spend, wanted a digital console and some new speakers and stuff. So I said, okay, which church? Oh, the AG church. Really? Want to guess who the last guy was to redo that church? Yours truly. So we went in there, and all the work that I had done was still there. Like, when I got there the first time, they had a booth right off the sanctuary with just a folding table in it and a 12-space rack that was falling apart. And just everything was all bodged together with
Ronco stickers everywhere.
And I kid you not, I've talked about this before, the connection from the CD player to the console was about 7 feet long, made entirely of Radio Shack adapters.
That's actually where the example came from.
Yep. I didn't take pictures. Actually, I did take pictures, but it was on my Palm phone, and I don't have those anymore.
I've got a charger and some cables in my boss's office.
Maybe I should see if I can resurrect. I might still have the phone. But yeah, so it'd be like an RCA-Y cable to a 6-inch long guitar patch cable to a splitter to another splitter to this to that to it was just a mess.
The talkback mic went from balanced to unbalanced 7 times.
Yeah, and it's like that again. Like I had it all straightened out for them about, I think it was 2004 I did that job, or 5.
I just said the last couple lines into a beer bottle and not
the microphone.
Yeah, it's the first one too. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Well, at any rate, I actually did more carpentry than audio work there. I built them a real minimal table for their video stuff and a more ample table for their sound stuff and a little rack for their outboard gear, and that was all still there. I got a couple snaps of that.
One of your stickers is still there.
One of my stickers is still there. I'm going to have to put one of the new stickers on when we go back. So anyway, like many, they are ready to make the jump to digital. Don't get all hot to trot because there aren't going to be any slick old analog consoles coming on the market from this one. In fact, it's a 4-bus, a 24x4 Yamaha desk with 5 auxes.
Yeah.
Weird.
I think it's 5 buses too, isn't it?
No, four groups, 5 auxes. Okay. Yes, Yamaha was first to market with that 5 aux concept.
And last.
Yep. Not sure there's another one of those in existence anywhere. But that, actually, he said he had a guy that was all hot to buy it, like another church. I was like, all right, you want
sell it today.
You want to drop it off? Yeah, have him bring a check right. Just go without till we get you sorted out. You'll be better off.
I'll bring you some cables and just tie it right into the breaker box.
I'll give you one QSC on a pole. You can plug the pastor's mic into that and just rock. So, well, anyway, they need a new console. They need to ditch their outboard. So a nice little digital console should take care of that. Probably going to slap in. Well, they wanted to go Presonus right away because somebody showed them the iPad software and it does this, it does that. And we said, let's talk.
So we dug around for a while, and me and John were both pretty up on the new Soundcraft SI Expression stuff. Everything seemed real good. All the stuff they talk about, but the stuff they didn't talk about ended up being the deal breaker.
It was. I mean, it's they say it's got the VI pre's in it, whereas the Behringer X32 has pre's that are
Midas-ish.
Midas-ish, yeah. Inspired by Midas, the heart of a Midas, the beating heart of a Midas, yes.
And then there's that disclaimer at the end of the movie. They're like, this does not depict any real persons and or events.
Any resemblance to Midas Pre's, real or imagined, is strictly coincidental. But yeah, we talked about it on the last podcast. This is all about what we have talked about. I realized I've said that about 20 times, and that may or may not have had something to do with the one Vice beer that I had. What is in this beer?
It's good, isn't it?
Anyway, maybe I'll just hang up the podcast and talk to my beer. Seems to be working for you. Hey, little beer.
We're out of rum balls. So
like Barney from The Simpsons. Hey, podcaster!
I'm going to make you look how I feel.
So anyway, yeah, I got my hands on a Soundcraft Expression and an X32. First time for both. And I didn't demo any audio through them, but just the user experience.
Yeah.
The Behringer was speaking to me, I'm sorry to say, and it's less money. And the stage boxes are less money.
And it does more.
And you don't have to put tape on it to know what the channels are.
That's a pain in the ass.
That was the real deal breaker. Like,
no scribble strips, and I'm paying how much money?
Yeah, like I can understand that on the Presonus because it's fader per channel and there's no automation. Right. You can't flip it into another mode and lose your place. So
page over or whatever.
Piece of tape, no sweat, makes sense. On a digital console, I'm not really feeling the tape so much. I feel like that's just wrong. So Soundcraft loses, as they are, I'm sad to say.
I think they're on their way out.
It's a shame. Since Harman bought them, it's been a rough game.
Yeah, like the VI stuff was great, and even some of the SI stuff, but I feel like they either have to live in that upper echelon and hang out there and really drive the flagship stuff, because they tried with the lower budget stuff, but I feel like
they sort of never made it with the flagship stuff. Like the VI series, I feel like gets installed in churches more than anything else. They're just there. You see them on about every other church install. If you look on Pro Sound Web or one of these other newsreel audio sites, but yeah, they're not going out on tours. They're not getting spec'd for theaters.
It was a shame because it is a nice desk.
Yeah,
Brian gets to drive one a couple times a month.
I used to get invited to drive that one too. I was always busy though. So anyway, we spec'd an X32, a couple of 16 by 8 stage boxes. That'll save them from having to actually buy sub snakes. They can just park a stage box either side of the stage.
The stage is what, 25 feet, 30
at the back,
feet across?
Yeah, it's longer at the front.
And they're going to be chopping that down anyways. It's going to be coming in just a touch.
Yeah.
So everything will be moved a little bit closer together.
Yeah, so keep it to nice short runs on stage. And what else? We're going to run them some Cat 5. The place is built on a slab, so we're either going to have to try and get the old snake out of the 2-inch conduit underneath, which we may still try to do, because copper is $4 a pound salvage.
I had to, one of the pastors from my church left and started a new, more college-based church up by one of the bigger schools, one of the state universities here, and he bought an old Mennonite church. And those bastards, they had pretty much like the same situation here, pretty much what looks like would be your two Edison outlet wall plug, but there's one XLR in it. But about 4 feet into the wall, they all tie together with zip ties. I don't know how they did it, but I ripped the ends off of them, like the pull snake that I had with it. Mm-hmm. Like I swear I put half a roll of gaff tape on that and then zip tied it to it, and every time just broke off. So at the end I just gave up, chopped the ends off, and put the wall plates back on and said, you're going to have to do something with those because I can't get it out of the wall. I can get it out of the wall. I just need to get rid of the wall first. So...
All right, so we figured that, and looking at their space, it's one of these. There was a big trend with churches that had money a few years back to build an octagon church.
Yeah,
out of these big laminated beams.
That's not laminate. That's actual.
Well, it's a glue lam.
Yeah.
They didn't hew those out of solid cedar. They're a little half-inch thick, steamed laminate that's glued together. So you got these big, tall, like 2-foot tall beams that are 6 inches wide. Mm-hmm. Soar up to the ceiling, and they're built on a slab, and there's just nowhere to run anything in them. And the stage is in one corner of an octagon. It always makes for an oddly shaped room with weird acoustics.
Sounds strangely good for drums and piano, though. Like my church, they're with like just a little acoustic jazz kit. Like my church is bigger than that one, the sanctuary. But something about the way the ceilings are pitched and stuff.
Yeah, sometimes you luck out. Yeah. But usage-wise and sound-wise, it can be pretty weird. Mm-hmm. The problem with this one is they're only speakers in the room. They've got to cover, I think, almost 180 degrees from the center cluster. And so they did it with these 3 EV cabs, and they hung them right side up. They got a nice rigging plate for them, but not one that allowed
that
the
works for the room.
Yeah, but not one that allowed the 2 outer cabs to actually turn out far enough to cover all of the seats, and then they hung them horns up instead of horns down. So sound comes out of the horns, immediately runs into the ceiling, and then sort of splashes. Anth found a real interesting spot. Actually, center stage, about 5 feet back from the pulpit. Those are a gorgeous image right there.
It sounds great.
Everywhere else in the room is kind of assy, though.
There are spots. We were walking out the sanctuary just to see, where our knolls were and
had
our
some
alleys.
Music on,
yeah, and we both stopped at the same exact spot and looked at each other like...
Popped up like prairie dogs and looked at each other like, are you...
What the hell?
Are you in that node that I'm in right now over there? Does this exist on both sides of the room?
There is some crazy Super Mario Magic Tunnel type stuff going on.
Yeah, like if you sit 3 seats in from the end of the third pew from the back and whisper into the communion cup holder, you can hear it in the 4th seat in the front row on the opposite side of the room and nowhere else. There's just some weird reflections and whatnot.
That was a thing with the dome churches.
Yeah.
Were awful for that. You could hear, be, in a 3,000 seat dome church and hear somebody sneeze, 3,000 people back, or you hear what they're talking about. Yeah.
That's going to St. Paul's in London. There's the whispering ring. You can go upstairs and whisper to somebody who's like 120 feet away from you and have a little conversation like that. Parabolics. Pretty sweet. So at any rate, we have this 180 degree field to cover out in the house, but the coverage only needs to be about 20 degrees tall. Mm-hmm. So we were trying to figure out, like, could we take the whole speaker budget and just buy like one line array box, like one
wide line,
like one wide line, and a couple of like 5-inch studio monitors, self-powered for the 2 seats that it doesn't reach in the front row at the outsides. And we actually looked pretty seriously at that. The problem with doing that, though, is
to be a totally mono system. Then
and that's fine, but you you can't hang like one line array box and have the liner, like you need the line. You need the array to get the effect.
Yeah.
So the pattern wasn't going to be right just hanging one box of anything. So we wound up going with just a couple of our favorites, the QSC KW series. We're going to underhang those and get it so that the overlap, like right now, their overlaps are in the middle of the seating. You know, like
where all the people sit. It sounds great when you're walking in. You sit down and it goes away.
The one well-placed cabinet covers the central aisle fairly well, and then the two side cabinets that are poorly focused create all sorts of interference and nastiness out in the actual seating areas. And the new hang is going to be at the same spot, but it'll be two speakers designed to overlap in the aisle. So if you do hear some wonkiness, that'll just be when you're coming down the aisle. And once you get into the seats, you'll have nice, clean coverage.
Yep.
And system will still be in mono, unfortunately, but you'll have some real good isolation. One box covering one seating area, one box covering the other. And I think we can probably get away without any fills. We didn't budget for any. If it does really turn out that we need them for $200, we can get a couple of little boxes and boom, done. So there's that. We're pricing it. We're figuring it out. The other thing you have to figure is it's not like anywhere else where you can just spec some stuff and put it in. Like we have to teach their volunteers and provide documentation and drawings. Well, we don't have to provide like engineering drawings, but like we have to do what's called like a single line drawing, where you draw every piece of the system
path from front to back.
Right. And you show how the signal gets from point A to point B in all instances.
And we're going to do that at Denny's with crayons on the back of placemats and put a 3-hole punch in it. And
I'm not above that. I'm really good at making single line diagrams in MS Publisher.
If you need to follow the blue crayon.
If you're having yeah.
If you're having.
So what else? A couple of IEMs, and yeah, it's interesting because the worship pastor there knows sort of just enough to get himself in trouble.
Always does.
Yeah,
I've known this kid for almost a decade now, and he's always, he's one of those kids that hears a big word and figures out what it means and tries to use it as much as he possibly can about anything. It just I don't know, going into a place and having somebody tell you exactly what they need and how they need it to work, and they know everything about it, and then like, well, why'd you hire us again? You got this all sorted out. Like that's what happened to the last church that he still helps out at, but he's like, we want to redesign everything. So I went through and, for something enormously cheap, like lunch and $50, drew out a whole new system for him and everything, and they approved it, and they went out and bought it. And he's supposed to call me. I was going to help him put it in. And I got a text a week later like, hey, man, it's all set up. When do you want to pink noise the room? Like, I didn't tell you how to wire anything, though. Okay. Well, I just daisy-chained everything together. I was like, oh, God, fantastic, great. He's got a drive rack there that I was going to try and sort out for him, and he's like, yeah, I just didn't plug it in. Put it in the rack. Told people not to touch it. I haven't powered it on yet. Okay.
We might actually, I didn't price a drive rack in. The more I think about it, the more we could probably get away without it. We threw in a couple powered subs. They've got a built-in crossover. That'll be good enough for what they're doing. Since they don't have any subs now, there's not a drop of bass in the system.
Even if we have to buy just a real hard-nose outboard limiter just to throw on.
Yeah. Although, well, no, the QSCs have a limiter in them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're not going to cook those. I beat the tar out of mine. They hold up well. Plus, there's gain settings like right on the box, so we can dial that down pretty low, and they can drive into it as hard as they want. They'll make the console fart out before they blow the speakers up.
And the QSCs are smart, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll make sure those clip lights light up real good. Those bright blue clip lights.
Just flip everything to line and put the vocal setting on. As long as we make sure to put the vocal curve on. Setting.
That's the only beef I have with those QSC powered cabinets is the 4K boosts. How much does it boost?
The 9 dB.
Oh boy! Like that setting should be labeled like, if you are set up in a pea soup fog, press this switch. Like flip this switch,
and still just kind of cover your head a little bit.
Yeah. Cover your ears so they don't get sliced off. They
start feeding back without a line in them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, somebody did that once when we put him up there. The guy that was helping me rig him accidentally hit the external sub on one and the vocal boost on the other, and oh god, I'm glad we didn't put the scaffolding away yet.
Yeah,
like
you're
those
trying to whack that with a broomstick.
those sound awful. Climb up there on a ladder and hang off some drywall studs and.
Yeah, and the only other thing I would say about that job is we stated in the bid that rigging the speakers is the church's responsibility because we don't carry that much insurance. Actually, we don't carry any insurance. Angels guard us. Angels watch over us.
Kingdom bucks, son.
Kingdom bucks. But yeah, if somebody from the church does it, it's a lot less of a liability for everybody involved.
Mm-hmm. We'll stand there and tell them exactly what to do. Just not touch it.
Well, all we're going to explain is how to position them. We're not going to tell them anything about how they should go about rigging it. Other than that, they should do it real good so that it doesn't wind up being like the Holy Church of Little Timmy in Christ because the speaker fell on Little Timmy and now he owns the church. That's how I usually phrase that in the documents. All right. Short show. I'm pretty drunk. I mean, well, just kidding. I had 3/4 of a beer. That's about my limit. I don't know. What else we got? It's like the start of festival season, but we're not really doing any festival dates.
Yeah. Church jobs are kind of... I remember when we used to go out.
About every weekend.
Almost every weekend. I would just drive to your house on Thursdays and come back Mondays for months at a time. Or we just sleep in the back of Kevin's truck in your driveway.
Really? You did?
Couple times.
Did you? I always wondered what happened to you those nights where I'd go to bed and you'd keep drinking all by yourself in my backyard. He was always gone in the morning, and he's still alive today. Not that we'd recommend any practices.
Don't. Yeah, no. Mm-mm. There's a post on that somewhere.
Yeah. Smart to Noise does not advocate
binge drinking, drug abuse,
yada yada yada. Thingama. Don't die.
All that bad stuff. Don't do that. Yeah, or at least there'd be something going on. Like I would drive out and do a Main Street coffee show with you, or we would be on the road doing something.
I'm actually thinking about that. I've been looking for a decent forum. Not that I want one more project to administrate, but I was thinking about, like I used to run a little music festival called Pocket Stock, and this was back in the days. I think the last one, a couple of people had digital cameras, but all of the documentation for this was on
the T-shirt that John's wearing right now.
I'm still wearing a shirt
02
from the last one in 02. We recorded some of it on VHS. We recorded some of it on high 8 cameras. All of those tapes are now gone. And I'm sure, I have a few snaps from my little camera, and I'm sure that a lot of other people have pictures. I'll have to start a Flickr post and just have people drop off shots of that, and all the Main Street coffee gigs. That was an awesome little scene that sprang up around this coffee shop in my hometown. But anyway, I digress. I'm already planning it like I'm doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm just not. So there. You do it. Not Anthony. You.
Yeah. Someone listening.
All right. What do you got? You got anything else? I'm still trying to sell my Midas and get a digital console at work.
Not really. I heard JFK just complain about Allen Heath boards for about an hour today.
The power supplies?
He had it was a 3,000, no, a 4,000.
Oh, big one? An ML?
Yeah. ML 4000, and because he redid his basement, it used to look like random stray dogs were just living in the basement. It wasn't. It was his shop. So whatever. His shop still looks like hell, but the rest of the basement's nice. He's got a big giant TV down there, and
Did he get an ML 4000 into his basement?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah. I don't know how. Like the physics of it don't quite work. That stairwell is very unforgiving. I almost dropped the speaker that I dropped off today down the flight of stairs.
Oh, did you take that EAW over there?
He looked at it and he shook it. He's like, there are parts inside here that are moving around. Pulled out some angle iron and a couple washers. Like, I don't know if I put those in there or John did. I don't know where those came from. He's like, you might want to save them.
Just in case.
Just in case. Like, all right. I can do that. But yeah, he had an ML 4000 in his basement, leaned up against a wall, so it's pretty much against the ceiling,
Right.
and wall joint.
Because they're 8 feet long.
Yeah,
And
it's
the
like
ceiling, his
my
ceilings in
desk.
the basement are 7'6", I believe.
Yeah, it's on a pretty steep angle.
Yeah.
The back power was out, and I didn't realize that every single thing is one giant ribbon wire from end to end. And where the power comes in is the center of the desk. So I was like, so what's wrong with this? He's like, well, they had some intermittent problems. Certain LEDs weren't working, certain all this. He's like, and then there's this, and it's just this melted pile of ribbon wire. He's like, yeah. I called him. They're like, oh yeah, no, we used six lines. 3 17 plus, 3 17 minus, and he's like, yeah, but each one of them is about the size of a hair. And you've got 40 other channels running on it, so the whole, you can see exactly where the power comes in and distributes, because it's just a ball of goo right now.
That's not the one from
Elam.
Oh, it's from Elam.
Yeah. Elam downtown, not out in Rochester.
I was gonna say that's a hike. I gotta figure out where to get the headphone amp on my Midas fixed up before I saw. I mean, Liam, if you're listening, never mind. No, I don't know. I have a feeling it's going to involve taking the center section out and mailing it to New York or something.
Carl can fix that, right?
Apparently not. That happened on my watch. I don't know what's up with that.
Gonna probably have Jeff come in and do it. He'd bill you for a day, but you take it
might
apart
be worth
and
it.
fix it. Yeah,
if I didn't have to ship my console to New York, figure out something to do in the interim.
Yeah,
because what do you do?
Get that SI back.
Call Seb. Yeah. All right.
I think we're done for today.
Might be the shortest show ever. It's a fine night.
Yeah.
I have to go kick stones in the driveway for a little while longer.
Yeah.
So anyway, as usual, thanks everybody for dropping in. Thanks to all our fine Redditor friends who read and listen. We appreciate you very much.
Yep. And thanks for all the recent upvotes and not.
Anthony has discovered the glory of karma.
I have no downvotes yet.
He's making bank on audio memes. He is one funny mother. Shut your mouth.
Shut up.
Just talking about Anth.
That's it. That's the new show intro.
Who's the man who can eat you like no one can? Anth. Can you dig it? Oh, shit.
You're gonna take the rest of the beer fumes away from you.
I almost got to the bottom of this one. There you have it. All right. Really, we give up. Thanks. If you're looking for a more orderly show to listen to, check out the Home Recording Show. They do a great job. Although the further I listen, the more irreverent and silly they get. So I may have to rescind that statement. I still have about 150 episodes to catch up on. We should probably invite them on. That'd be a cool event.
Yeah.
They might bring some credibility.
Yeah.
Or we might drag
anybody might
drag them into the dirt.
Credibility.
All right. So anyway, thanks to all our Redditor buddies. Check that out. There's some hot forums going on in there, as well as all the usual suspects. Dave Pensato's bringing you the goods week in, week out.
Yep.
Gear Sluts forums, always tight.
Mm-hmm.
ProSound Web. Yeah, pretty sweet. All right. So that's it. That's the show.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. If you're a reader and not... No.
Listener, not yet a reader.
Yeah. You've been listening. You know how to say it.
I've only had one.
So have I. But for me, that's
we translate that. I've only had one. 12-pack is equivalent to.
Yeah, there's a
I'm
multiplier.
I'm a much heavier individual.
There's a multiplier on that, yeah. Anyway, check out our blog. It's at smart2noise.blogspot.com. We would very much appreciate your readership and also your participation. Thanks to everybody who's been commenting on the post lately. That is just awesome to see your stuff coming in and with some new ideas.
If anybody can write in and tell us what kind of microphone is on Conan's desk on the late night show with Conan, it looks like an AKG 414, but it's got a red top. And
well, you figure it's got to be a Coco custom, but I saw the logo a second ago, but I couldn't make it out.
I don't think it's an AKG.
Is it an RCA?
I don't know.
Nope.
Yeah, if anybody's got an answer on that, we'll do some actual. No, hold on, wait. This is a reader thing.
Oh.
If anybody can tell us, let's just do a whole show of your questions.
But if they know that, do you think they have many questions?
Personal questions, ethical questions. We could turn this into a psychology
dirty truth or dare.
It's pretty warm. There are only a couple pairs of clothes left on.
All right. Yeah. Jeez. How did we get the podcast turned into a game of strip Q&A for me and Anth?
You had a beer.
I'm not into that. All right. Time to curl up on this couch and go to sleep. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week if we're not still hungover.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
See ya.